Welcome everyone to the 18th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace. It's Tuesday, November 21st, 2017. And once again, we'll have Caroline Kesh with us today to help guide us through today's session. And my name's Rick Crammond. I'll be your host. I think we're ready to begin with Caroline. Caroline, are you there?
Yes, Rick, I am present. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. And as it was really nice to hear, what are we going to say when we are in space? We have no day, we have no night. How are we going to orientate ourselves? Or just simply say hi or hello? So, because it's habitual to indicate where we are on, depending on the light and in a time framework. I requested Rick to be so kind to bring us the view of the wishes from the blueprint for the world peace. To start again from the top for whoever came or is visiting or sessions which are new, but also to refresh our minds of what we have gathered, and we have 4 more wishes to add, which we have composed last week. And it became all apparent why those wishes were created after last Thursday morning teaching from Mr. Gesh. He's opening more and more doors for us to understand how we don't stand still in so many placed realities, and that we have to start analyzing by just asking questions. Why is this? How is this? You know, like little toddlers, when they start discovering the world around them, they don't stop asking questions, especially people who have little children. They know. They just bombard you, and what is this? And for what is that? And they just don't stop. And their imagination goes beyond, because they can't grasp all this knowledge, even though we try to explain. And Mr. Kesh said, but why do you keep on saying, yeah, 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 yeah? I said, Mehran, I cannot answer all these questions, because it was not so much only the answering. And it was not only the child bombarding us with so many questions, it was the attention field strength of the child to make sure that you are in his surroundings, that he still is connected to you, that he can, it's like a little bat which sends out a signal, and by you just simply answering back, yes, yeah, he gets the confirmation you're within his surroundings. So as they grow older, then the real questions come up. Whatever they cannot find out themselves, so they all relate on the information which the parents have at their disposition to be able to be shared with the children. So as knowledge seekers, I think you have already noticed that your way of answering the questions of the children is already in a totally different way. I think you're already answering them more in a different field, some more scientific, some more in opening the understanding what goes around, and not to just accept because it's around, but to open their, be critical, to analyze it for themselves, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable for themselves, to show them the path to become an independent thinker and to find the truth within themselves for themselves. We had partially this kind of experience because the limitation of what was available for us, if you go back so many years, it is a big change. If you stand next to your parents now, at the age what you have reached, and then you compare the sharing of the knowledge with your children, and you reflect to as they were children, you as a child, and then your children as individuals, the information is totally on a different level, and especially when you're knowledge seekers. The more you embrace your children, you also gonna have to be more aware that they will stand out. They will not be as normal children in the classroom, in the school, among their friends. You got to realize and understand that their field strength, because of you passing the knowledge through to your children, they have increased in their field strength. They have become more knowledgeable. They're different. This is what we notice with our children. They stand out because we have been feeding and guiding the children on a totally different level than I was guided by my parents. It's different. It's different in field strength. So the positioning of the children is different. Be aware of it and make them aware of it, that they are different, but not because there's something wrong with them, but because they've been taken by the hand to show a different part of a reality which is adding to their knowledge and is making them stronger in their field, and the ones which are on a lower field strength, they will detect this. Because we sense before we meet. So children who have a bigger field strength, they stand out. And then that's the target where they can become, as we say, and use the names as they can get bullied. Now, be aware, parents, when you guide your children, you're also going to have to guide them to be very strong, and that these are small tests for them, how they will pass this strength in their knowledge and stay in their field and staying stable. That it's only that what makes the difference for them to stand out, that they just carry that little bit more knowledge and that they are a little bit more stronger in field strength. So the souls which are searching, which are among children, the same as among adults, they will start going towards them to receive from them, but you can also have the opposite, that they poke them to show more. So create a path for them to take them and to explain to them now before it gets too late, because it's easy to see how it's done. If you take children in majority who are getting bullied, they all always clothe different, they talk different, they listen to different music, they have a different search of knowledge. That's why they stand out. We call them, or in some countries, they call them nerds, because they have a specific target that they want to reach, so their field strength is different. That's the only thing which keeps this play of give and take. For the child not to be harmed, if you sit down with a child which is bullied, it is a very easy way for him to understand that there is no problem. It's just for him to know that he stands in a different strength. And he can use it by giving or sharing or elevate other children to come to his level. But we have to sit down with our children. We have to explain to them. And you all as knowledge seekers have reached that level long time ago. And for the new ones which are coming in, take your children by the hand and do exactly the same thing with the elderly people. Embrace them in what you gather, share it for them to understand more. If they push you off, it means they're still at such a low field strength that they cannot absorb the field strength which you try to radiate out. So send first the wish for them to receive from your soul, for them to welcome, to open a conversation with you to go to the higher strength field. Because through your giving and adding to their field strength, you slowly elevate them, that they can slowly open the doors for through communication to come to even just to sit and listen. They don't need always to agree with you. And that's not the point. The point is that before they might really push you off and brush you off, but it's the way to give first before they meet you on the path of sharing something which you came across, which you know you can do so much more with it. So do not be disappointed when, as so many knowledge seekers says, my God, it's so difficult. They don't want to learn. They don't want to come clear. They don't want to come near. They don't want to have anything to do with it. Yes, because you got to understand they are from a lower field strength. They cannot absorb so much energy because of through your gathering of your expansion of your intelligence and information, they can't register it. They have no room. So you need to increase their field strength for them to be ready to come and meet you halfway. And when you do it sincerely, then the doors will open up. And it doesn't matter to where you send these field strengths out. Is it to your friends, parents, children, neighbors, society, even your students which are walking in, they might brush you off. Because you got to give and create more room for them that they can take that extra which you're willing to share with them. I had this in the last few days, quite a few conversations with our youngest one. And it's very difficult for them to analyze so much in one go. So you got to take small examples to place it for them to make the decision. And by making these small examples, you show them how they can solve and how they can sort so many problems out. But you have to give them the decision right. Do not decide for them, not even for the elderly. You can always work through the field strength of the zinc and the CO2 because you create a different environment that you are already giving them more energy to be able to absorb it. So they become in a different state. You support them that way. But still, through your wishing and your creating, you give them more field strength to sit down on the table and to start receiving more. I see Rick has brought the blueprint. These are the 4 wishes.
This is the 4 wishes, but this is, I just copied it onto my text sheet with all the other wishes, but that's not the document that you want. I think you want, is it the Earth Council Constitution or
no, Rick. You know what we were working on in July, August. the blueprint of the peace, the world peace, where we were working together with the public and
Well,
we were adding the wishes.
I have all the wishes on this list. I don't know if there's a document that's gone to, though. Does somebody know? Does somebody have a link for that?
If you go all the way to the top, there should be the introduction.
I'm not clear on that.
Yeah, the one that we were working on a month or two ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the right one, Rick.
Okay.
You just need to go back to the top.
Well, this is the top, but it starts with Mark, I wish for world leaders to declare peace. And then we ended up with, at the end of it, there was a comment from Estella about wishing tolerance, acceptance, openness, etc., and a couple of other people. Is that the document, or do you mean something else?
No. There was more on the top. I cannot recall exactly what was all before the wishes. We had the two texts which were published. How the, or is that
I've got the charter, and we have, maybe that's what you're thinking of. Let me bring that up.
Okay.
Okay, we ended up with, this was from the 30th of October, the last
addition to it.
There's the charter from Marie, there's about giving and taking, and this is, I think this is
No, that was the sea charter that was brought up in the...
Right.
7 or something.
So that's not what you're interested in?
No, it was a similar document like this, like what you had there, but it was, yeah, it was live and editable.
I think someone else had brought that up. Maybe...
It was also the complete explanation what the Universal Council was about. That was all added in it.
I've got the Earth Council Constitution, but that's not what you want, right?
No, darling. It's the one we were all working in the blueprint presentations, and we kept on adding to the same document continuously. And those were also all the wishes which were getting added, which were controlled and okayed by I am present. And we said, as we're going further on, we're going to come back to the same document to add more wishes to it.
Mosfet, do you have that maybe? Does someone else have a link to that? I don't understand where I'm at with that. I can't find it in my
Mosfet has.
If you can get a copy of that, would be nice, because we're going to keep on bringing it into the public teachings to add wishes or even adding all the information.
Which document are you talking about?
It's the document we were working on in the Blueprint for Peace.
With all the wishes.
Yeah, the document was complete. Mr. Kesh wrote the text, and that was the opening on top of the document.
It was not on top of the document. It's in the middle of, somewhere in the middle of the charter document. And I saw Rick showing the charter document. So if you go up a little bit, it's in bold, a text, centered bold text. And that's what we copied yesterday in the meeting. It's in the charter document, the one that Rick was showing right now.
Okay, let me get that back up again here. Okay, so you're talking about partway through the document, basically.
Yeah, start from the bottom up. This is the charter document. Start from the bottom if you can. Yeah, go up a little and you'll see a centered text in the middle of the. Go up a little more. Okay, it should be soon. See it. No, this is too high up. Too high up. Let me look at it in myself, and I will let you know.
Okay, you can search or do research in the background. This is also the one, Moshfek, where all the wishes have been added, which we were working on in August.
No, that's a separate document.
Okay, do you
And
know where that
that's the
document
one
is? That's
which
the one we're looking
yeah,
for.
the one which we were working on in August in the blueprint teaching.
Let me post the link. Let me log into my computer. I'm not on my computer, and I'll post the link and as well as look up the other text.
To come to, is it Tuggy? I cannot clearly read the name. He says, hello, everybody. The harder you work for elevation of someone, the higher your own elevation will be, I think. I have such case in my life, and it takes a lot of energy from me, but I will not give up. If you want, you can come and share why it takes so much energy from you, that maybe we can open it up for you and create it as a wish, if it is possible. Can you speak, or can you only correspond with us through the typing? And the name is Tugai or something. I see you are appearing. Can you speak?
You should be able to unmute yourself now.
You got to unmute your microphone for us to be able to hear you, Tugai.
Oh, he says he's at work now.
So he can't speak.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, no problem. If we still are in the meeting, Tugai, and you're finished working, you can always come in or let us know that we can promote you to speak, or you unmute your phone so we can listen to you.
There's
yes.
a Takir in Facebook asked a question. How can we guide our children to become more type in soul?
It depends. Can this person communicate with us? That he can ask his questions directly, because then we get a better idea.
Yeah, he can always join our Zoom meeting and through the Zoom software. Zoom number is 939-474-503. Otherwise, he can communicate in typing in the Facebook chat.
Ask them if they have a microphone and if they can manage. So it is impossible for people which are in the Facebook to talk with us. It can only be done through Zoom. Did I understand this correctly?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. See if you can get him in, because to guide children, for parents to understand how to achieve this, is to know the character of the child and in what way the parents desire for what the child to receive. The age is depending, the maturity is depending. And if you have, each child has a typical behavior where you can find where he is in conflict in his day-to-day life. You can find the key by just asking the right questions to unlock it and put it in a different daylight, that it gets opened up for them to receive more understanding why they are in a position like this. And then let them do the thinking work, how, if they're ready to change that position. Because it's all positioning. It's all a matter what you decide, what is going on in the head, what are you creating in your thoughts. That becomes the reality, which then with time, if you work so much on it and you're using so much energy on it, that's when these situations start materializing, and then they have to work on it. We had a parent which came now and then forward in regarding his daughter, that he had problems. He explained the problem. We had a communication with him in public, and we opened it up so he could see where he could reach his daughter in an easier way, and then leave the decision to the child. And that decision-making right, which you give to the child, is not so apparent for a lot of parents. We are still living in a society where children can be present, but they have to be invisible and definitely very quiet. So the best way is to open an open channel and sit down and learn to communicate with the children. They got so much to share with you. And they definitely want to share their thinking and their problems and their ideals and their fantasies, but there has to be enough room from the parent to be able to take all that information on top of what you already carrying on information on your daily job and life and stress to deal with it. So you got to make room for you to be able to sit down and to have an open conversation. If you can make, even in a very stressful lifestyle, we call it lifestyle, and just give one-to-one to a child, 10 minutes, one-to-one, you already changed the whole environment in the house. It's because you haven't put your focus with the correct intent. You can say, oh, I'm listening to you, but in the meantime, you're doing so many other things, and so many other things, thoughts flash through your head. that the children sense that you are, in a way, your physicality is present, but your mind is absent. So they can't reach you, and they know it. So after a few times, they just give up. Children will push you, and maybe even start behaving out of line to get your correct presence. It's the same as the little toddlers keeps on blubbering and asking questions, and they keep on putting their eyes on you. The minute you can just even look them in the eyes, or just by confirming, they are comfortable. Because as much as you need energy, they need more energy. But it's the confirmation energy. My mama is there, I'm safe, I'm okay. She's there, I'm okay. And when you notice that parents put attention to this, you always have very calm children. And this is the attention span. When they start going to school, you will notice that you give less attention to a growing up child than to a little one. Because everything is new. His first steps are new, his first smile, his first drinking, eating on his own, walking, swimming. These are all adventures as much for the parents as for the child. And then suddenly they become at a certain age. And then you forget all these things. You don't take so many pictures anymore. It's a normal thing, but keep that 10 minutes one-to-one, and you will keep that relationship very healthy and very beautiful. Has the person been able to join us from Facebook?
Not yet. I'm still
okay. Moshfaq, I see you have brought.
Yeah, Mosfak sent me the link, and I've got that up now, Caroline. And
okay, yes. Please keep it very handy. This is the most beautiful text I have ever come across in my life. This is that 10 minutes towards your child, your partner, your friend, your parents, yourself. When you open it up, it says, I offer you peace, meaning I have opened the door towards you because I am focused on you. I offer you love because you use your attention to give. I offer you friendship because you're willing in those 10 minutes to have a listening ear to whatever problem. I see your beauty because you will start confirming that that person has more than he thinks about himself. I hear your need because you will see where he can open up, or you can help to open up the problem they're facing. I feel your feelings because in those 10 minutes you share a lot. My wisdom flows from the highest source. I salute that source in you, which means I am present. So by sitting together in those 10 minutes, let us work together for unity and peace, which when you create this peaceful time, although it's only 10 minutes, you change the whole environment. Was this the top of the document, Rick?
Yes, I was just going to say that in reference to this, Tugay, who has given us some additional information by typing. He can't talk at work, but he can type a bit. Perhaps I can read that and see if it ties in with this.
Yep.
He says, if you can support me, I'd be very thankful. I have a stepdaughter that went to me with my wife in my life. Since 8 years, I try to educate and elevate her with love. Sometimes she accepts it, but often she does not accept. He goes on to say, in my prayers, I call to Mr. Kesh for help. And he says, there were also lots of problems because of this with my wife, but with giving all, I have elevated her. And he says, let me see, it's her birthday today. And since August, she has had epileptic seizures. Her biggest wish was and is to do what she wants to do. But she has problems with other children to accept their wishes. That's the information I have at that point.
Try to find out, because he can hear us, or try to type out, is it the daughter who is suffering from epilepsy or is it the mama? And is it her child?
It's the daughter.
The daughter has epilepsy. And how old is she?
It's her child, yes. I think, would it be 8 or 9 years? 12 years old.
12 years old. Rick, if you can give him in the background my email address, I will bring him in touch with the health team, and the problem with the epileptic can be solved. So there is a solution for that.
Thank you very much.
And the problems usually are more intensified when you have a child with this kind of condition. So it's fully understandable. And they are not so easy to communicate with because they try to keep their dignity. They know there is something wrong and they can't change it. But it is very easy to reverse this kind of condition. So I will bring them in touch with medical support and we'll take it from there. So I would like to have full information about you and the child, and please send me the medical records that we can pass them on to Mr. Kish and the doctors. Thank you. So, Rick, we have the wishes. Was this the top at the beginning? We started this blueprint. What is underneath this one?
Okay, well, we have a number of wishes that came up. The Humanities Blueprint for Peace.
Don't go too fast. Don't go too fast, Rick. You know why? You know why? Because I have had a few times the questions rising. What, as the Kesh Foundation, is thinking, or me, or Mr. Kesh, about what is appearing in public? And you also spoke about it in a few teachings in the past. And I wanted to remind everyone that we have been working so hard in August on this. And now when we go very slowly, people, when you go through this text, what have you wished for? You were part of it. And if you scroll very slowly through the wishes, Rick, to go up, then Mashfaq, can you close the beep beep, please? So if you scroll up, this was the invitation for the world peace, which a lot took place. This was the letter which was sent out. And we keep on urging people to send the World Peace Treaty out, to invite people. Do not stop, because it is not so much in the topic. We are still working on it. We are still urging people to copy these documents and to send them out, not to stop. This was our first wish, wasn't it, Rick? Humanity's wish for peace, a request to the universal communities. We request the universal communities to open a portal of communication and support in our quest to create everlasting peace. Our wish is to achieve peace and create the best living conditions for all life forms on Earth. We have received a universal teacher, and through his inspiring teachings, we have gained the knowledge to elevate our souls. We have therefore evolved to the appropriate level of achieving peace. We, as humanity, now wish to join the universal communities in a peaceful way. The Universal Council, Earth Council, Core Team, Knowledge Seekers, one planet, one nation, one race. If you scroll up, Rick. And these are the wishes. And it is nice for them to be refreshed, that you partook in these wishes, that children are in there, tools of war are in there, humanity is there, no suffering, to sustain this abundance, to release the information. People having peace within themselves. And that children will be surrounded with love and care. And this is a very special one, Henrik. We wish to elevate the souls of those who have the understanding of right and wrong, for them not to inflict any physical or other harm or on any children. The Universal Council. We create a protection field for the children who are not in a position to defend themselves. Universal Council. We wish to elevate the souls of those who have been victims of abuse to free them from any suffering. Universal Council.
Can I make a comment here, Caroline?
What?
Can I make a comment here after reading that wish?
Yes, sure.
It's Vince here. I want to make a comment that in the United States recently, there's been a lot of coming out of sexual predators, let's call them, in high-level positions. So I think that this wish with the universal community has elevated these people's souls to give them the courage to come forward. And it is now taking its time to be fruitful. This wish has taken time to be fruitful, and it has allowed those people to gain that strength in their soul or their Magrath. So thank you for this wish, and I am present.
I am present because these wishes are not finished. They're still in the creating, because we are covering the whole planet, and each child falls under this wish. Not a single one will be left out. and it takes time to cover.
I am present.
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 Lots of souls present for that wish, Caroline, today. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. These wishes have been composed by the Universal Council. And they work through the soul. And that's what you have noticed, that's what Rick has noticed, that's what a lot of knowledge seekers have started noticing. And I had simply to answer them back and said, I will go back to our blueprint of peace working and ask Rick to bring the paper back, the presentation of it, because you were all part of these wishes and confirming and adding to this field strength. And now you see slowly but surely it has set the motion for opening up. So be proud, do not be disturbed. You are part of this wishing. You're part of changing. And it is correct, as you said. It is in combination of the field strength that we are increasing. So either way, you will hear it, you will see it, you will come through the channels which have kept this so long away from the daylight, as we say. But the most important thing is that the souls, which it was meant for in the first place, have stood up. They received all of your strength in creating this, that they can stand up. If you go through the wishes, and now you see this, stop. You see what José just said? I wish that all the writings are written with a pen of integrity so that humanity only receives true information. This is the other part of it. And then underneath, I wish that every human being becomes responsible, courageous, and mature in order to act for the good of all. So these are all related to the above, which made it a much more bigger wish and field strength. And this is what is coming now out. And it's beautiful to see it happening. Was that the last one? No.
Well, there's quite a few more actually.
Yeah, go down. Because with going through this,
That was a big one with Brett as well, with his wish for Australia. Came through quite clearly.
Oh, yes. This was, and this is still going on.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
If you can read it, please, Rick. This is a beautiful one.
Okay, it's from Brett. My wish as an Australian citizen is to maintain the status quo of the current peaceful laws without need for alteration, manipulation, or creation of new defensive entities, as Australia is a peaceful nation. This creates the peaceful protection of all citizens of Australia and neighboring nations. And that came out at a time when they were having a vote, I believe, in Australia. And the one party wanted to create more arms and more defenses and so on. And there was a bit of an uprising about that, and it upset Brett quite a bit, actually, that this was going on, and we had to work with this wish for quite a while to bring it into a soul kind of wish. And then shortly after we did that and made that wish, then the situation seemed to change in Australia. They went for a more peaceful alternative. Anything else about that, Caroline?
Yeah, Rob Brett in if he wants to give an update.
I don't know if Brad is still around to give us some more updates. We had the feedback twice from him in the matter of this.
Can you say something about that, Brett, or are you available there? You can open your microphone if you like. Not sure if he's ready today. I don't like to just open the microphone, but
It was amazing how it took a different twist than what was expected. It brought so much other ways of correctness on the surface. And that was the shocking part. That's what, if you're a knowledge seeker, the first thing before you start is for it to be truth, for it to be in its transparency as possible, so that even whatever is your wish, it always comes as truthful and correct as possible. And this was an amazing wish. And it sometimes brings my memories back when people ask questions. I said, you were part of that wish. So you should not be surprised to come and see the results. It might not always be what you wished for, that in your thoughts, what you visualized might be the outcome. But the souls always search the path of what is good and the benefit for every soul, not just because you created the wish. The creating of the wish is for there to change the conditions by giving, and to put the intents and the intent that it can find its path to open up. And this was absolutely beautiful. And maybe next week or the week after, Brad will return and give us some view on it. And then we have this is also one. To love mankind, no, go down. Go up, I mean. Love mankind as long as the mind. This is the one from Mr. Kesh. Shall I read it, Rick, or you shall read it? Because it has a twist.
You have to do this one. I'm not sure if I got it yet, but you do, so go ahead.
Just give me 1 second, please. I love mankind as long as the man is kind, and is kind of man I love. May be love of the man is the kind or man love to be kind or do. I have to be in love to be mankind. Maybe this kind of the man I am to live and love, then surely I am mankind. But are you mankind or from another planet calling yourself this kind, Mr. Gish? We can open it up for more understanding if you wish, Rick. Because we never opened this one up, but if it is not fully understood, then how can the wish take its full expansion field? I understand this one very well. He says, I love mankind, meaning I love man, as long as the man is kind, which means, what does it mean, kind? It means nice, friendly, polite. And is a kind of man I love. It means the kindness is that the kindness which is the true kindness. Maybe love of the man is this kind, or man love to be kind. Or do I have to be in love to be mankind? Meaning, if you're not on the level of the true sense of a man, what does it mean? What is the beauty in a man? That he expresses himself through pure kindness, because that's the word Mr. Kesh is repeatedly using. What is kindness? Kindness is caring, nurturing, respect, and be as supportive in any field you can imagine to be kind to another kind, which is a man. But to understand the man in its kindness, do I have to be a man? And maybe this kind of the man that I am, we live and we love, then I am surely a mankind. And now he rephrases to something else, or he's referring to something else. But are you mankind, or from another planet calling yourself this kind? Which means it's not necessarily because you're kind and you show your kindness that you have to be a man. That means you don't need to be necessarily from this planet to be kind. Which means we are sharing this planet with so many different beings. Where is the showing of the kindness? But when he says, surely I am mankind, is when you behave like a man through your living and through love. So he's referring to all on this planet. Any soul falls under this beautiful expression. You have more questions, Rick? Or is it a little bit more understood?
No, that makes perfect sense to me. Yes. It's a nice twist at the end there. All right, I like that.
But it is beautiful, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was time to unravel and open this one a little bit more. Mr. Kesh is reading it, Rick.
Okay.
You have any questions? He's standing right next to me. And he has a big smile on his face when he's reading it.
Does it
Would
make
you like
sense
to put this one on a t-shirt?
Well, we could. It's a bit long, but it's not bad, actually. I was wondering about one word. Is it or of? It's where it says, maybe love of the man. Is this kind or man?
It is correct. Or man, love to be kind. Or do I have to be in love to be mankind?
Okay, it's
That's
correct as is. Okay, I got it. Good.
It's a lot of love in it. I don't know who got very, very lovely.
Yes, and there's a lot of kinds in there too. Kind is the key word. I hadn't picked up on that so much, but if you look at it, there's a lot of kinds in there.
Kindness. And this one was also beautiful. I wish all children gets, and I wish that all the world leaders unite for peace.
I had it before I came.
Oh, you see, my wish is that Latin America finds its equilibrium, so it may balance its fields with the rest of the world, and so it be with Africa also. And this was a part which came on the topic with Togo.
This was very much previous to Togo.
Yeah. So many people have taken so much part in this creating of these wishes that it is very nice to go through them. Because it revives the field strength.
That's a nice one from Libby, Liberty as known as. My wish is to generate My wish is to generate pure joy in my field strength and freely give to others to elevate the souls, creating a higher strength of balance. That was a good term. Generate pure joy in my field strength.
I am present in that one because that's what we are working on.
Mm-hmm. This was definitely a important sentence. I don't know why this popped up in the middle here. I can't remember where that came up in between the other wishes, but that was from Mr. Kesha as well, I believe.
Yeah, and this is also on our website.
Yes.
We are here to serve and not to be served. And I think this is exactly what the knowledge seekers are doing. They serve humanity in so many ways by expanding their field strength, by knowledge, by giving freely. Oh, this was the person who couldn't speak. I remember this one. He said, I could not speak, but I had to sit and be quiet and listen because it made it brought a big difference in his life. And he shared that experience with us.
Well, perhaps I can read this one. He says, I wasn't able to be live in our session last Tuesday, and I am so happy about it because I never would have experienced so completely the field of joy you created in me. It would be my absolute pleasure to carry the conversation with you in this and any form. Together we can go deeper and expand the knowledge. While listening to the 5th recorded session, I experienced an unraveling. I wanted to jump in and show them the fields by sharing stories and experiences which inspire movement of those fields so they can feel it themselves. As you went along, you slowly and gently washed away layer after layer, revealing so much understanding that I literally wept with joy because I didn't know. Thank you so much. It's Rick Newcomb. Well, here's a statement from Guy, who we heard from earlier today. When we walk down the street and see a dog or a cat, we are enthused. But if we see any human being, we mostly do not react. So why do we give the same feelings not also for the mankind? This would be the first steps for peace. Well, that word kindness seems to come up there again.
Yep.
This is a kind of a nice one from CA. My mother told me when I was a child I was always stealing cookies and food, but not for myself. I gave it to all the people in the neighborhood. She laughed about that. I said, I had that from you. And he goes on, I now understand why I was doing that. It always felt good to do that. Always share. That was a kind of a funny one. This one here. I wish that the people who are living in condition of extreme poverty improving through the effort of the people who are affected by this poverty. I remember initially it was a different viewpoint we had on that. And we had to work with that a bit to allow the people in extreme poverty to improve themselves, basically, was kind of the idea there. Okay, it goes on here. Gatawa made a different perception on that. So it goes, we wish to elevate the souls of all people living in abject poverty in order to enable them to improve their living conditions, and to elevate the souls of all those who create poverty conditions for others in order to enable them to change their ways toward improving lives for others.
You see, if you have this wish, it should be we elevate the souls, not and to, because the and to makes it not already existing. You understand? We elevate the souls. Now it's more. Yeah. Okay, can you add the last 4 wishes, please?
Just a minute here. Okay. Okay.
As we have added a reflection or wishes wherever we bumped into the right ones, that maybe needed a little bit more increasing in their field strength. We know the news from Tom Salas in Dominica is very good. He's sharing his videos on Facebook and they are absolutely beautiful. So people can go through Facebook, or maybe our team can bring some links. If you don't know where to find them, just type the name Tom Salas in and you will come across him. He's sharing his experience on Dominica, and we know that up till now it's going very well. Folia Tut, I have heard you are present. If you have a clear line, can you please share if you have any news, please? Paul, are you still present? Can you see him, Rick?
Yes, he's on the panelist list, but I'm not sure if he's able to hear us right now. Paul, are you able to open your microphone and talk?
Hello.
Hello, Paul. We hear you.
Yeah. So good morning, good evening, good day to everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Not too bad so far. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to give the update about the situation about Togo and Niger. And I will have more to wish for African continent. So for Togo, the peace politics in the opposition side is now in France. 3 leaders from opposition are now in France to be able to meet the president of Guinea, which is one part of the mediation. And the president for our nation is he was yesterday in Ivory Coast. Now he's in Nigeria, still working for the mediation and dialogue. So the peace is there, and the process of peace is going on. And we have to thank all souls who have supported us and continue to support for this peace in Togo. For Niger, the situation also is stable there, and we didn't hear more about the trouble there. So this is the 2 updates about Niger and Togo. The wish I have is about what you call racism and black color. We still seeing the slavery start about the black man in Libya now, and all voices condemn this, and we wish the end of the slavery for the black man, which is now in Libya and which is a victim of this slavery. And we wish the end of this slavery. We wish this kind of practice stop, and we wish harmony, unification, and understanding, elevation of soul from both sides to understand that all black, yellow, white, and the rest, we are all one, and one is superior than another one. We should respect each other. We should understand our soul and the soul of the universe as a soul we are sharing from. So we wish the end of this slavery for the black man in Libya from now on. So we need your support to stop this kind of at our cycle now. And the second wish is about Zimbabwe. We see also there some kind of trouble have started, and we wish the peace for the nation of Zimbabwe. We wish understanding, comprehension between the daughter, son, mother, father, brother, friends of Zimbabwe. So peace for Zimbabwe nation, and we wish the best way for them to find the peace. So this is my two wish. My wish is my commands. I am present for my wish. Thank you.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
I am
I-
present.
I am 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 present.
Thank you very much, Paul. It's very nice to hear what you just brought messages for us. My wish is the same. And something which is very strange to me is how come suddenly the slavery in Libya has become a headline for the people from Africa? You heard about people getting up early in the morning to go shopping fruit or vegetable from the markets, or going early to see what is new that they can shop. When I saw these pictures from slaves in Libya, to me it wasn't a shock. I had the shock worse than this over a year and a half ago when we were in Dubai for 3 months. You talk about the slavery this way, but people in Dubai who have the money or have the need for a slave, like you get up early in the morning to go shopping in the market, they get up early and they go to a village, not very far from Dubai city, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. And women, men, literally lined up on the street, slavery, and people choose and they buy. But the price in Dubai is something in the region of $3,000 to $5,000. Filipinos, Africans from different part of Africa, Indian, young girls, young boys, and it's literally shopping market street. So the only difference what we saw in this news now has become a headline news is a chain on the foot. But in the way they keep their passports, the same chain on the sole of the man. And this is the shame part of it. This is what suddenly you have become seeing slavery from Africa to be sold. This has been happening in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in Saudi Arabia, in all the Arab states. Persian Gulf Arab states go shopping human beings every morning. And this should not be a surprise. I had this shock a year and a half ago in Dubai. And this has to stop worldwide. And this is not something new that we wish to stop. This has to go to the head of the states in Dubai, in Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, to stop these there. They buy these men and women for $500. They ship them to Dubai to be sold as maids in another way, form of slavery for $3,000 or $4,000. I've seen them being bought, and it's as normal as you go to the grocery, you buy a pack of rice, or you go to a kennel and you buy a dog. Just ask people why United Arab Emirates allows these slaves bought in Libya be brought to their country to be a slave, to be sold at higher price. Now, maybe some of you know where the destination of these people are. They are used as housemaids, as anything else abuse you can imagine. And I see them being bought in Dubai. And it's every day. You and I go to a supermarket to shop. People in Dubai go shopping for slaves. They pay the money, they get their passports, and then they go to the government, they give them work permit and meager amount of money and slavery in full 24 hours a day. In 1 or 2 meter by 4 meter, 2 bunk beds on top of each other. You see people coming from Middle East with the Filipino or black people with them. They've been bought in these markets. So when we pray for end of what you saw in Libya, I have told you before, United Nations most probably has bought these off 3, 4, or 5 years ago, paid the slaves off to the slave masters. They've been kept somewhere, going up to 17, 18, 16, 15, and are back in the market again at a higher price of 500. Go to United Nations and ask, open the books of how much we pay to the slave masters. So my wish is that slavery stops throughout the world, that people do not have to sell their effort, their body, and their children for others to abuse.
I'm present.
I am 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 present. I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
The other point we raised last week was regarding the peace between Iran and Saudi Arabia. We have made effort and number of world leaders have started looking. Keshe Foundation has taken the lead, and we are waiting for response from the world leaders. We are not talking through intermediaries, it's a direct communication. And in so many ways, as we say, we might stay quiet during the negotiations, but we have started in earnest negotiations. Negotiations doesn't happen in so many ways on the microphones and in public. It happens a lot in the background with people who have priority or they have some sort of clandestine activities or aim to serve someone somewhere. As I said, we test everything possible, and I have taken personally, as I've done before, full charge, and I've relinquished a lot of my work in the past week, 2 weeks, to make sure the peace happens, that I have enough time to be available for all negotiations. The Keshe Foundation, most of my responsibilities hand over to a number of people, groups, that allows us to start the whole work of peace process, not just between Iran and Saudi Arabia, but amongst the religions, amongst the nations who could be in conflict or nations internally have conflicts. The work of the foundation in becoming a peacemaker is getting recognized in a very extensive way by world leaders, and we are receiving support. My wish, my hope, and in so many ways my desire is the negotiation between Iran and Saudi Arabia becomes a path for the peace between all the religions. In the future, I will explain the reason and the initiative we have taken in so many different ways and directions to make sure this happens. In the past 7 days, I've had a number of meetings and discussions, and we will push for world peace. We'll push for peace negotiations between the two nations, actually 3 or 4 or 5 of them. And in so many ways, as one of the Islamic, what we call followers of Muhammad said, we never looked at the stone this way. We have replaced God with a black stone, and it's got black in color of a stone. And it's raised question amongst the Islamic world, why we never looked at this position of we have replaced. We become stone worshippers than the path of Muhammad, bless his name. I hope we reach peaceful negotiation, and I hope there will be a way to find that the Islamic world, the Jewish world, the Christian world, and all the other paths of belief, they come to understand, not talking about one faith, but they become one path of belief in peace. Thank you very much.
I am present.
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 Has
Hi.
anyone? Yes.
Yeah, I have Takir Fatim here, joining us from Facebook now, and he had the question about how to guide our children.
Yep.
And you can unmute yourself there, Takir, and speak if you'd like.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. So thank you so much, and love for everybody who is present, who can talk and who can listen. So first question is that because I have 6-year-old son, and my question was that how we can help our children and guide them to tap in more in their soul as compared to the material world. So initially, what should we do? I started with Mr. Keshi's teaching, like I give him and other kids which are with him magnets and play with them, and I told them that center of consciousness is in the middle of your chest, but still, how can I proceed? That's my question. But thank you so much, Mrs. Kesh. It was very informative answer and in detail. And I also, besides that, I also want to raise my own spirituality.
Is it a boy or a girl?
He is a boy.
He's a boy. Oh.
Yes.
With a lot of questions. Is he sportive or is he more
only child? He loves to watch videos, cartoons, but even then I try to show him the spiritual kind of stuff. But definitely he loves to watch cartoons and games.
Yeah. It would be a wonder if they would not go for games or struggle with their children. I'm still referring to Vince. We're going to keep you to your promise, darling, because you're an expert to be able to bring a different reality, virtual reality for children, to be able to understand and to work through the virtual world, creating through animation, video, and maybe even gaming platform for the children to change, to try to guide them away from where they are getting addicted to. And the best thing is that you try to guide them, but always make them to be aware. Even, I give you an example. Maybe you heard it, maybe not. Some time ago, when you go with a child into a video store and you let him to collect his games, let's say he can make a choice out of 10. You bring him to not too far away from the counter and let him display them and have a look with him to analyze what kind of games he has chosen and to give him the time to explain to you why he chose certain topics. Then you open the channel for the child to reveal why he chose the games and why it might be so important for him. But the truth comes on the table that in a way, through this interaction, you can guide the child, as I used to do with all my children, not to go for violent games. And because you have to explain them, this is like a video playing in their head, and that they might respond in a violent reaction to something which is totally harmless. But because of the alertness they learn through the video gaming, they might have a much higher alertness to something which is actually harmless, depending also where you live on this planet. Sometimes children where they need to stand up for themselves and they need to be capable of defending themselves, because they can come into a situation where they can be compromised. Then you have to work it out in different ways to try to get him in combination of the gaming, also more direct him to martial arts, and maybe even try to get him in a class of martial arts, which teaches them the ethos of and the only one which truly works, I'm using one word, is the ninjutsu that I have seen, which covers all the fields of it. Because the children have to study the book, they have to study the ethos. There is so much ethos in that way of, it's very rough, but it hardens them as well, but they get the understanding of the knowledge behind it. And definitely not to harm, but to become in a position that they can be themselves and they don't need to be scared. But the interaction by the choice of the child, what kind of videos or games he's going to take, then you can open and reason with him the why and the how, and that he can make his choice to go narrower. And then you see what comes really on the table in the last, let's say, 1 or 2 video games you allow him to buy. And always try to stimulate the child to go for the most ethos one. And that's not easy for a child. But when you start when they're very young, as I did, especially with my youngest one, then suddenly you have situations like when you go to a restaurant or you go to a place where there are a lot of children sitting behind their tablets, or they're gaming, they're playing. So when he passes out of curiosity and is very extremely sociable, so the minute he spots somebody playing, he can see what he can learn, or he can share, or they can both play together. He comes back and he says, "Mama, you know, this child is only 9 years old, or 10 years old, or 12 years old, and he's playing this and this game. But Mama, this is not for his age, is it?" I said, "You know." So I said, "What have you responded to it?" By the time he comes to give me this feedback, or he says, "I already spoke to the parents, I already told them this is not a game for a child at this age. They should be start looking at the age on the game, and definitely not let them to play this kind of bloody games." So by making him aware, he makes other parents aware of something they most probably have no comprehension of. Because our age and more older parents don't pay attention what children pick up as games. So when you are a parent with especially with very young children, watch their gaming behavior. Guide them to go always for less harming, less whatever, and let them to choose to make the difference. But from the understanding point, what is the difference? If you just let them buy and you don't point out why they should have and make that choice, then they don't have that choice. But then you create children which are already, through parents and other children, they correct their behavior for as much as they could, because they try to guide them by the information they receive from you that the games are not so good for these children. And then he goes and he names all the titles they should not play. So they are very well and very wise what is in the market, what they can play and to what extent they can play, and to what age and what danger is hidden in the game, because you made them aware of it. So they can enjoy games, they can enjoy videos, but try for them to decide by the understanding what is in it, for them to make the right choice. And then they become guiders for other children and parents which maybe were not even aware of it. And then you have, of course, the parents which don't care, and you have, of course, the children which don't care. But at least your child carries the message. And if they're there to take the advice, I've seen parents really change their way of looking at the game and realizing that their child was playing with something he shouldn't touch. So you see a kind of awakening, and this is coming through a child which is 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and he still is doing it. He hasn't stopped. And boys are very drawn to games. So the best way is to please limit their time of gaming and limit their time of videos. Because once they get the taste of it, they just don't, the reality doesn't exist so easy anymore. And work with the reward system. If they do their homework and they're okay with the behavior at home and it's an ethical way. They share the load of little tasks in the house and you're happy with his behavior and he's doing well, then that should be the rewarding time of what is his private time to play and to watch. Because it's much healthier to be outside and it's much healthier to stay in social interaction by talking in different games than being behind a computer. But always reason with your child. Always make them to make the choice for themselves. Because when they make that choice, they took and take the responsibility and then they can carry themselves. If you make the decision, then they can't stand for that decision. They won't be able to carry it. It's the same as Mr. Kesh says. Once you understand, you don't need to remember. It comes automatically. Any other questions?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's really very detailed and many practical tips, and I will try to implement them. Some of them I am already implementing, but few are very informative, and I'll implement them for him.
Always listen. The beauty in a child is when you take time, they will tell you what their problem is. And if they find the confidence that you're there for you to listen, not even to react or to speak, but that they can speak their piece to you, they already are sorting the problem out by just you being listening. You don't even need to say anything. Give the child the time that it can, by allowing him, by you just being the listener, the child by speaking corrects itself, because in the matter he's speaking, he's listening to himself, he corrects himself. And if there are the questions, then you can see where you can find a balance, where he can come to the understanding where the real problem is. Always go back to the root of it. Try to find where the problem originated. Then the child has a bond with you to be open and to be honest. He knows where to go and knock on the door. I created a game with my children from when they were very young. You know, sometimes you see them suffering, that they don't have enough energy or something is weighing them down. I taught them the trick. You know, you take the palm of your hand and you show with your finger that they can tap 3 times in the palm of your hand. And I said, if you tick 3 times, and nobody needs to see it, it's just between you and me. I said, and then you hold my hand, then my door of my energy can open up and you can take as much as you need. And at the beginning, you know, even for a boy, it's very funny to do these kind of things, huh? But they come and they do it, they test. And then they pull their hands away after 1 or 2 minutes. I said, you had enough? Yeah, Mama, you're too warm, you give too much. And they walk off. But every time they're short, they come and tap, you know there is a problem. By you just giving being aware without even speaking a word, you can refill or recharge his battery so fast because you're there at that moment in a giving moment and they receive. And it's pure, no words, and it works. And that's how you can support a lot of children which sometimes cannot express their problem or they cannot express exactly what's going on. But you recharge them by being the walking battery. And they used it quite a lot. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have another question that came up on YouTube. That was from an Angel H. She was asking, what is artificial intelligence exactly? Please tell us what you know about this. What does plasma science have to do with artificial intelligence? And does artificial intelligence have souls?
Even Mr. Kesh is asking, what is artificial intelligence?
If it has intelligence, it can't be artificial.
If it has intelligence,
the thing is,
it doesn't have
this is it's just come up recently that they have this robot in Saudi Arabia that's very intelligent, it's hooked up to the internet and so on, and they just made it a citizen of Saudi Arabia. It's the first artificial intelligence that's been named a citizen.
That shows the level of their intelligence, doesn't it?
Well, it may reflect on that, yes. But the fact is,
you don't need much intelligence to do that.
They're smart businessmen because what they did was they made the artificial intelligence a citizen. Therefore, it has to, it can have an income, and therefore it has to pay taxes on that income. And not only that, but it will have an amazing, huge income that may actually exceed the whole income of the country in a very rapid way because of its interconnection with all the other artificial intelligence of the world and so on. And it gets to a point where humans, all the humans of the planet, could not even keep up with one of their email messages back and forth because there's so much information that they're exchanging. So it's sort of getting a bit out of hand, some people say.
But yes, I know about this. I heard about this.
So the main question is, would that entity, does it have a soul? Does a computer network as such have a soul?
Can we become...
Shared knowledge would be better.
Can we... What I said when I heard this one initially, you heard about the global warming?
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, does it? Because he was a brainchild of a Dutchman who wanted to make money and he sold it good. The Saudis pay money for anything, so they can buy as much as they like and they can promote it not to show how things are. But in so many ways, I heard about it. It's very much in control. It can do a lot of things. So we made a robot for us to become cleverer than us, and it's just a sequence of numbers, yes or no, and logical.
It's still programmed by somebody. Somebody still has to program it to do something.
Yes. Apparently, just because Saudi pays for something doesn't mean it's worth what they're paying for. If somebody could take them for a ride, so it's quite welcome. But we've seen the number of these past years coming into market. But this is another way, as they say, is a cover-up for new scam on a banking fraud level of much higher without full backing. It's very much Bitcoin business, a new version of it under different cover.
That's a lot of what this artificial intelligence will be involved with is various transactions with Bitcoin and so on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm quite aware of this. This is well made, and in a way is becoming the replacement. They're looking for to find a replacement for the oil revenues which are going, and they have lost huge amounts of oil revenue, and you will see a lot of these clever moves by a number of nations who have lost money in oil revenue. And this is one of the, it is very, very interesting. I don't want to speak about it because I'm quite aware of what's happening in the background. But this is another fraud. It's a very large scale fraud which has started going on. And a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money, and Saudis have that kind of money to lose. As we had, Bitcoin now is about 8,000. This, and it doesn't exist. The reason I keep an eye on this is the fact that the way we are structuring the Keshe Foundation, we have to make sure the banking of the Keshe Foundation does not come near anywhere these things at this moment of time, the way we see it. It doesn't have a soul, as was said. Is well programmed, is one of the top programmers in the world, which has come up with it, and he has sold it. And as you know, the Middle East Gulf State, they paid 5 or 10 million to Michael Jackson, and at the end, they caused him, actually they caused his death, trying to pay back the money which he borrowed from them. So it's the same category of large scale fraud, but just because the nation has paid for it does not mean it's going to work, but they're trying to push it to destabilize a lot of things which they have lost. And there's the man who's made it is one of the top programmers in the world. But it's extremely interesting how they have managed to do this. But they bought it, and doesn't mean necessarily it's going to work. But it hasn't got any soul because it's a program made by one man, and he's being paid billions to do this program because they're hoping to make a lot of billions out of it. It actually has been decoded in the past few days, this past week. This program has been decoded, and it's got a lot of flaws into it apparently. They are trying to stop the people who found the flaw in it, not to show that they made a mistake. That's bad it is, that's how we know. And it's got no soul, it's just a program. If the computer games you play has a soul, so does this number. This is this thing. You remember a few years ago, a girl came in a computer game, and what was his name? A lot of people made a lot of games, came with her and everything else.
Japanese?
No. What was it? What was her name? She had a name. It was a computer girl. It's the same kind of program. They are trying to divert massive losses. There are massive losses. You got to realize that why Saudi Arabia is getting involved in these kind of things is that they have invested, they receive huge amounts of money in oil, and they advanced purchase things at the rate of $100, $120 a barrel. And now all those promissory notes, advance payments at the oil of $30, $40, $50 has come to be paid in the next few months and years. So there are two choices left. One is to start a war, that by scale of the war, that they can push the price to $200, $250, $100 plus, that they can meet the promissory notes they made. On the other hand, they have made, and nobody lost as much as this nation in the stock market crash. They were investing heavily and they lost heavily. So there'll be new gimmicks coming up trying to recover the lost money. And this is one of them. We are monitoring this very closely. Now, we do not get involved, or if anybody involved with these things comes into the work of the foundation, as we're setting up a new banking system. And this is all what we see, the war between Iran and our Saudi, which is boiling up, is literally in the background for those who invested in oil, $120, $140, hoping it goes to $160, and it crashed to 2025. They're trying to recuperate any costs. Calling a war will push the oil prices up, making these kind of purchases of what I call dummies to create a condition that they can recuperate the losses. You got to realize if a normal American citizen lost so much in stock on their houses, and you can imagine how much these nations lost who bought all the stocks which are all the place. The biggest losers in the crash, these multinational, national organization all owning these shares. Saudi lost more than anybody else, and these intimidation, this war mongering is just to push the prices back above 100, that they can make what we call the bill of exchange payments. And it's the same with the United States. A lot of American government businesses are pushing for this because they invested, United Kingdom invested for the oil in Gulf of Mexico, which to control more or less 100% of it in the rates of $100, $130, and now the bills are getting more needs to be paid because they pre-spend the money. This is the problem, and it will stay that way. So this is one of the strengths of us. We see it, and this is part of negotiation. We understand the weaknesses on both sides. We try to become very, very public about that. Everybody understands why and the reason, and there is no need, because as we talk, if the push comes to the shove, we release against the war the what we call PPW, PPUs, plasma power unit generators. We crush the oil. So if the war starts, we release the power generators. Then what they were hoping to create was to create $200, $180 per barrel to cover the losses, oil become worthless. Now you understand, we are discussing from point of strength, not the weakness. We become one of the most powerful scientific organizations with the muscle of peace, and we understand and we're standing by. But if oil prices become the point of war, Keshe Foundation will release the PPWs, which is a plasma power unit, 100 kilowatts into the market rapidly to crash the oil prices, which might be produced. We are a power to be recognized, and we deliver accordingly, but we stay loyal to promises we give to the Chinese government. We will not interfere in that kind. We're looking for negotiation of peace. And we are aware why these moves made and why people buy and give certification to dummies to recover from the losses they made. I think I made this very clever and very clear to those who thought. And thank you very much for this question. I wanted to raise it, but you brought it in, so my soul knew you're coming.
This is Boniface. I have a question, Mr. Keshe.
I'm not supposed to be on Tuesday afternoons.
Well, you brought it up, so if you don't mind, I'd like to ask. You said something about global warming does not exist, and I'm just curious to see how you explain it from your perspective to people that are curious about it.
Global warming is started by a Dutch guy who came up with it, and he managed to sell it like the guy sold this guy as Saudi Arabia. We see changes of weather is natural, is normal, And secondly, we are closing to the sun, so we will have warming. It creates us to evolve. And if you travel, let's say, north of Italy into other European countries, as you're passing through these mountains, just have a look. The cut in the mountains comes from glaciers, which melted millions of years ago and created these corridors, and you see most of the major cities on them in Northern Europe. Was that a global warming? Who was burning the fuel at that time?
More cool.
At that time, millions of years ago, nobody was burning any engines or whatever. So this is the terminology which we have to understand is a process. We go through cycles of melting because it's the balance of the fields on this planet. So whoever bought the global warming and sold a lot of trees to be what you call planted in different countries for it to be changed, it was a very good sale. But we would like to employ for the Keshe Foundation to sell some material for us. But this is what is the reality about global warming. The more CO2, the more we put in the air, the more it's beneficial for human being at this point of time. If you understand the cycle. As you remember, last year announced that we will see earthquakes of massive order, and now we see scientists, international scientists have backed it in the last week, 10 days, that there will be a massive earthquakes in 2018, they reckon, and it will affect 1 billion people apparently. So let's see what happens. These are the things we see. Global warming does not exist. And if we exist and you believe in it, the Keshe Foundation supporters have the best tool. Use your backup system and the rest, reduce the fuel. That's the best way you can do. So global warming does not exist. I've attended, and always remember how fake this is, because they even managed to get the American vice president to become the president of America, which was cheated out of it, to lose his job with it. I said it very recently, Mr. Al Gore, in a public presentation some time ago, said that all the problem with the global warming is that we are losing all the penguins because the bears are eating them. There is not enough ice for both of them to live on. And some clever guy in a presentation said, excuse me, President, or Mr. Al Gore, he was the head of the United Nations Global Warming, committee. He said the bears live in the North Pole and the penguin in the South Pole. They never meet. That's how fake global warming is.
How can they even sit on the same table to eat?
Go back now. You say, go back on something very interesting. Let's bring global warming, Saudi Arabia together. Go back in around 2000, 2010. somebody managed to sell icebergs which were floating in the South Pole to the Saudis to ship it all the way to the Saudi Arabia to get fresh water out of it. More or less, by the time it got to Saudi Arabia, it was melted. There was not much left for them to pull. That's what the Saudis paid against the global warming. One of the very big icebergs. Just go on the news and see. They pay for anything, and the global warming was a very good excuse to sell fresh water in the ocean to people. Actually, as it came out, I heard in one of the, private political meetings, they said somebody managed to sell sand to the Arabs. He sold the iceberg, which was melting, to go right into Saudi Arabia. By the time it got there, it became part of the ocean. There was nothing left for them to have fresh water.
And you know what, Mr. Cash? Now the Emirates, they are buying one.
Pardon?
Now the Emirates, they are buying one iceberg. I have this information from Dubai. And,
they always do.
Yeah.
But the global warming works is good.
The thing is, the way I understand it is that they distracted us with the CO2, which was actually just the marker gas for all the other toxic gases that were given off by the same exhaust around the world, mostly through the diesel and the industry and so on. And CO2 is just the harmless, relatively harmless marker gas, and it's something we breathe out as our normal breathing. And instead of blaming the other toxic gases, which are responsible for 9 million deaths a year currently due to air pollution. That's just air pollution, not even the water pollution. So this is what they distracted us from, and they're responsible for those deaths.
Yeah, but are we bringing that CO2 to Mars as well? Or are we bringing that CO2 to Jupiter, which is changing dramatically?
That's right.
Mars is changing dramatically. So are we responsible for that as well? I don't think so.
No, it's not the CO2. That
No,
was
but
a
you
big
got to
distraction.
understand. Sorry about that. But you got to understand that the more they create CO2, the better now is for the Keshe Foundation supporters, because you can produce it much cheaper and you can do much more with it. So we become the rescuers of global warming, and we need it. Please burn more because we are absorbing more. Where do you think all these CO2s you're producing coming from? So it'll be very good. We buy exhaust for producing everything else which goes with CO2. But on the other hand, the global warming was a very good game and literally died with Al Gore. He lost the elections and he lost his position as the head of the United Nations global warming. So these are ways they manage to get themselves into, and they do their work.
Thank you, Mr. Ketch, for sharing that. I had heard a scientist give his presentation or argument about the same thing, that these global warming was a fraud, that it didn't exist. What he did was he used actual data that had been, documented for decades, actually further than that. And he went on to show that the data that was being used to support global warming was actually manipulated by NASA. And since it was just a lone voice, and supposedly 99% of all scientists agree that there is global warming, he was just like one person in the wilderness, saying that that was not the case. And I think I recorded it. I don't have it at the top of my head. But I was just curious to see how you would explain the same scenario. He used, actual data, and he showed how the data was manipulated to back up that claim.
No, it's not the data. We know it, we see it, and this is something known in the international arena. They made a lot of money out of it. A lot of trees was sold, which never grew. British Airways and the others, you could change your fuel, but what do you call it? Whatever they came to it, so against buying trees to replace, and everything else was done. But now we welcome as much CO2 that we can produce, burn more fossil fuels if we create so much CO2, because now we need it, because all the structures of the Keshe Foundation come into operation. We need millions and trillions of gallons of it. So please, we have to understand if there is a global warming and there is so much increase in CO2, we need it because we found the solution for it. And On the other hand, those of you who are again not aware of oil industry, you got to understand, if you go back to the statistic, the pollution from all the cars driven around the world, air pollution, is a fraction of the pollution created by marine fuel on all the ships, tankers, oil tankers, all these containers which come to Europe, America, and the rest of the world. The oil industry never promotes this, but just stand on the port and have a look and see when a ship goes, big tankers, cargo ships, small cargo ships, the exhaust coming out of it is the most dirtiest, worthless part of the oil industry they have to get rid of. It's known as a marine oil. And then the pollution of that is so horrendous that the first thing we're going to ban and reduce is a marine, or what do you call it, reduce the number of the tankers, super tankers, and the ships and everything else on the high seas. Because we don't see them, nobody talks about them.
Well, that's absolutely. I'll give you one statistic on that because I follow that. The ship that brings the cars from Japan to North America puts out more pollution than all the cars on the ship will for their entire lifetime.
Good morning.
Just in that one shipment, that ship will put out that much pollution.
Nobody knows. We always said this is part of being in the oil industry. We looked at a lot of things, what we put out, when they might hit us. Nobody speaks about it. The safest way to do these huge shipments, it'll be what you call nuclear reactor powered generators for the high seas, which has a different danger. But the marine oil is the most polluting element in the world. And nobody talks about it because nobody sees it when it's on the high sea.
It's just about to be talked about now. The United Nations, for the first time, believe it or not, has brought together a panel or a group about pollution. They haven't addressed pollution somehow. In spite of according to their own statistics, 9 million people die from it every year, but they've refused to address it. Instead, it's all been about global warming and CO2 and CO2 and CO2. And this is, I think, the greatest tragedy and travesty of the entire 20th and now 21st century. This is so ridiculous that it's beyond ridiculous. There's more people killed every year from air pollution than in the Holocaust. Or if you add up in the last decade, more people have died from air pollution than the entire First World War and Second World War put together.
Good morning.
I get a little excited about that topic.
It's good. I used to get excited because many times this is what is the reality. This is the fact about what they say, what you don't see, you don't miss. And we don't see these huge tankers and the amount of poison they put out. The worst, lowest grade, when we cannot refine in a way to get whatever out of it is and we want to leave all what we call the rubbish at the end of it, we call it the marine oil. And it's literally scraping the bottom of the pit with it, and that's it. And not many people know about this huge disaster which is created. And much of it is poisonous, extremely poisonous. Extremely poisonous. The oil industry has done so much research on this, but it's all hidden.
That's true also of the railway trains. They are allowed up to 5,000 times as much of the toxic ingredients as in normal fuel for a diesel truck. So
Yeah,
you
but
put out a lot more.
sorry, carry on.
Go ahead.
Carry on, carry on.
Well, you're absolutely true about the larger, what we call super tankers, and we don't see them normally, but we do see, for example, the cruise ships which come into. I live next to a port, and it's a big issue. The cruise ships come in and idle there, and it pollutes entire neighborhoods. And the people are complaining that they, get headaches when they wake up and this kind of thing. And so there is a push now, though, to actually stop the diesel engines when they're in port, and they hook them up to electricity and try to, stop that idling when that happens. But also there's other pushes that are happening. There are signs of light in this situation. The Tesla car company, Tesla Motors, just unveiled their new semi truck. It's actually called Semi, and it is all electric. And
yes, can I stop you there?
Okay.
Because you just put your finger on it, and if I don't say anything, then I have to get up and go, and this is impossible for me. You pushed the wrong button there, Rick. Can somebody tell me? Can anyone tell me? I'm a very ignorant scientist. I don't understand about anything at all. Why electricity is more expensive than if you burn gas or wood at home to generate heat? Why don't we all use electric heaters at home instead of using gas burners or oil burners as a central heating? Because it's very expensive, because it has to be, somebody has to burn that oil somewhere else that we don't see, and then most of it and some of it is lost on transmission to come to you to charge a battery, that some of it gets lost to the atmosphere or whatever system for you to run an engine in your bike or in your car. Tesla cars
that doesn't
are
happen
the
with
biggest,
no,
biggest
Mr. Kesh.
criminals.
No, Mr. Kesh. The program with the new semi trucks are all powered by the sun. There's no fuel involved.
No, I'm
yes,
talking
because
about
they plug
charging
in to.
systems.
That's what I'm talking about. The
I'm
charging system
talking-
for the truck. They plug in to charge it, but they have a huge solar farm that feeds into the charging network to charge the actual chargers.
They're
and
only,
they have batteries there.
No. Wait, I don't agree, because I was in a factory very recently, and I was sitting with a guy who makes these charging machines that you can use on the side road. I'm not talking about the truck. I'm talking about the electric cars. The electric cars, which are in the market, instead of you burning the fuel in the tank, they are burning the fuel at the central station somewhere to put the electricity on the grid, which they have to burn more than what you use to be able to get you moving. In fact, all it is another gimmick like global warming electrical cars.
Well, except the Tesla company also includes, they also have the largest solar panels company in the world, the CEO.
Yes, but how much, ask a question. You know, this is something we are looking into. This is something I've looked a long time. Tesla talks about electric cars. They are trying to put the batteries, and the other biggest problem, which is nobody's talking about, and now is going to come up, hit us worse. Where are these batteries which get recharged and become redundant going to be used? What are we going to do with these old batteries? We're going to dump it in the third world nations, and we don't talk about it. It has already started.
It's been happening for a long time with phones too.
These all these Tesla, is it 6,000 batteries they have? Where are these batteries going to go?
Well, what about the huge mining pits in China and elsewhere where they're mining this lithium in this rare earth metal?
That's irrelevant. We're talking about the pollution. Yeah?
Well, you don't change the batteries. The batteries last pretty much the life of the car is the thing about it. You don't have to change them.
At the end of the year, has a car life, how much? 10 years, 20 years, 30 years?
Well, eventually they'll be but they take them apart and recycle them. So far as I know, it's not that big of an issue.
What can you recycle? How much of it's got recycled?
And there's also other car manufacturers than Tesla as well that don't.
Okay, fine. Listen to me for a moment. I get upset. I'll tell you why I get upset. I'll tell you why I get upset. I damn near died this summer from air pollution from my own damn car. It started to misfire. It ran really bad, worse than any vehicle on the road. And I tried to fix it over and over. I got bad parts from the internet, and I kept trying to fix it, and I damn near died. I got so asphyxiated from my own car. Now, if it was an electric car, I wouldn't have that problem. If the electric cars were in front of me, I wouldn't have the problem of getting sick every single day when I go into town. I wouldn't have the problem of diesel trucks blasting their stuff in the faces of kids and kids getting cancer and so on. Because
so we put it in the air, we mix it, you get it directly, but we mix it in here, the rest of the world population gets it, but you don't see it, but we receive it.
No, the thing is, we don't. Humans have, right now, humans.
We are burning. Either way.
No, Mr. Cash. Here's the difference. The difference is somebody's exhaust pipe at my face level in the car in front of me when I'm stuck in traffic, my tailpipe in the face level of the vehicle behind me, and so on. We pass it on right directly in front of us when it could all be 20, 30 miles away, where yes, it does go into the environment, but people aren't directly getting it right in their faces like they do in all of our cities now. Every single city has the same exact problem, especially in India.
Excuse me, sir. Can I say something? You are such a good Cash Foundation knowledge seeker, Mr. Vikraman. Can you make us a gas filter for the exhaust of the pipe that we can get in CO2s and benefit by them, please?
Well, that would be a good way to do it. Maybe we should have GAN's maker exhaust muffler. You know,
exhaust pipes.
I think this was in the old USB stick. Was this not?
Yeah,
it could be.
Nobody has done it yet.
Well, that's right. That could be a great product from the Cash Foundation Canada. Perhaps that could.
Well, KF Philippines was doing some testing of running exhaust through.
That's right. There was
CO2
some
liquid plasma, and it was coming out clean.
Rick, I'd like to place an order for
a plasma muffler. There you go, Rick.
Plasma muffler.
Who was doing it?
That's a good one.
Well, I thought KF Philippines team was doing that. Renee.
There was, I don't think it was a.
There is a lot of happening. We'll tell you in the future. There's a lot happening. It doesn't go into the plasma state. It's much effective through another part of the technology. It will be launched in next year or two. But as we're setting up the factories, other factories are coming online. As products will be there. It's in one of the patents.
I'm so global warming can generate such good discussions, you know?
Yeah, everything does that Cash Foundation.
Well, it brings up the passion in me because
this
it affects
is the good
me
thing
so
about
directly.
Tuesday afternoons. It's a free trying to get the member of the Universal Council, Earth Council, and the the core team to find solutions. We are here to find solutions and say yes. I am present, but this time the present has to become a present as a gift. We have to give a gift to mankind.
Can I ask questions, Cash?
Depends. I told you this is not my session. This is a few.
Okay. I will go to the other way. I wish from Caroline all members that Mr. Cash answer my question. And
Okay.
my wish.
Your wish, I don't know if he's here present or not.
Jalal.
Don't forget, I'm a member of the core team and a member of the Earth Council. So either way, I'm here.
Okay. So do you hear about this one, this new operation, this medical operation to implant a head in the body?
What?
They implanted a head in another body. Did you hear about that?
No. Head transplant?
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard about it, no.
And they already wrote about it. They succeed with it.
I haven't heard about it, no.
Okay.
I don't listen to these things. I'm away. I just hear about the news when they send it to me. I don't want to look for it. We are so underprivileged. We don't have anything. We don't have a television. We don't have a radio. We don't listen to these things. And somebody said to me, Mr. Kesh, you don't need to listen to the news and the radio because you make the news yourself. But I don't think so. We got to be able to change the position. But no, I haven't heard. There are a lot of beautiful sciences coming out. Not everything is us. I admire many scientists who are coming up with new technologies, new concepts, new understanding. And this, we are seeing a huge evolution in the world of science. And it's amazing what some people do. We have to respect them. As I always say, scientists are messengers of God in this world of science, not the soul. And anything which makes life easy or makes life pleasant or livable for the others, anyone who does it, we have to have respect for. What they'll do, what's the idea behind it, what will inspire from it, we might not see now, but in the future, all the scientists are always. I have one of the most top scientists in the world right sitting opposite to me, and nobody knows. Well, you all know, but you don't know who it is. I have to go. Thank you very much for today. I got to leave. I got a lot of things to do. And please bring the Tuesday afternoons to a position of decision making for or helping in the world of man for peace. And that's the whole purpose we brought the Tuesdays in. Not just to wishes, but for us to understand that we can give from our soul to them, that we can change it, and we can bring a change about. And I thank all of you who stand and you give from your soul, that we achieve at least a position in respect to the peace in the Middle East. We've seen a new move from world leaders who understood. And we'll see where we go. We are heading, and we're taking a lot of steps to make sure one way or other we achieve peace somewhere with it, and then it'll bounce back into the foundation in a good way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
I think it's time to wrap up here in our 3 hours.
Okay. That sounds
Thank
good.
you, everyone. I think we all need a break for a fresh coffee.
Okay. Sure. Or sleep, depending on your place of your world.
Yep. Unfortunately, we are not in the universe that we cannot pinpoint what time it is time to sleep or to wake up or to have dinner or lunch or breakfast.
We sleep when we are tired, we eat when we are hungry.
I think that even that will not be necessary anymore.
Yes, possibly.
Let's put it this way, let's hope for it. Because it's really time consuming, huh?
we get to work 24/7 then for others.
Oh, you got so much to do. I told you, Rick. You come near the foundation, you're never out of job.
Yeah, that's for sure. No shortage of work.
No shortage. Actually, we are creating more.
Well, people can, if they're interested in volunteering for the Keshe Foundation, then they can apply at the website, and in the there's a form there you can fill out for offering your services. And we do need services in, what do we have, Vince? In design and some of the computer
transcribers, translators, proofreaders. We can use everyone with a good talent. Video making, maybe even coming in to come up with the creation for what Vince was proposing, for the children to change their path, to take them off this violent path. And when we start, we know how fast it gets done. So people, bring your talents, your gifts to the foundation to add to the knowledge, to become and create peace in so many different places. Our wish is for world peace for all.
Very good.
Present.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present. I am present.
I'm present.
I am present.
I'm present.
I'm present.
I am present.
I am present.
That's poor.
Yeah. You know, what was just going through my mind, listening to all these strange ways and manners of the sound of, it's like I'm in a Bermuda Triangle between different time zones. It's beautiful. It's like the whole universe is trying to come true.
Okay, we can see the volunteer screen up there now. Just a little promotion for people that some of the things that we're looking for.
Please, Rick, keep this link handy, which we started with today.
Yes, I've got that.
And maybe we should put the title on the World Peace Treaty. Then it will be easier to find it back between all our other work.
I don't want to call it World Peace Treaty because we'll have a conflict with the World Peace Treaty. But maybe we could add that on to it as a note. Public wishes with World Peace Treaty.
Yeah, 2017, August. That we all know that it's been created or started from that month.
Okay, that sounds good. So I think that'll wrap it up for today then. Just arrange my screen on live stream. There we go. And that's it for the 18th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Tuesday, November 21st, 2017. As always, thank you everybody for attending. And I think we have some music to go out with here. So you get your dancing shoes on. Okay, thank you, Flint.
Sure.
Take it away. Thank you.